Hello everyone, welcome to GS Core. So we are here to discuss current affairs and through MCQs. So it's a compilation of MCQs which are based on today's current affairs, right? So there will be 5 questions regarding today's current affairs which we'll be having a look at. So let us move to the very first question. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. Every bill passed by legislature, parliament affecting fundamental rights must adhere to the proportionality test established by the Supreme Court. Statement number 2. The Supreme Court in KS Puttaswamy judgment held that any restriction placed on fundamental rights must pass the triple test under the doctrine of proportionality. And the statements that we see are in the statement 1 and 2 and explanation format. So if both the statements are correct and statement 2 correctly explains the statement 1, then the option A. If both are correct but the second is not the correct explanation for the first, then B. If 1 is incorrect and 2 is correct, then C. And if 1 is correct and 2 is incorrect, then statement D. So if you look at the concept underlying this, we are talking about the fundamental rights, right, and the amendability. The amendability, right? So this is the concept that is there. So of course, the approach that we need to take for this particular question is to see that there are certain go and no go areas when it comes to concepts like these. And through that, we must first find out whether the statement is correct or not, and then look at the explanation phenomena. So in a logical order, we need to move this. In questions like these, there are certain tools which I say is do's and don'ts with regards to procedures and constitutional provisions. So while reading the constitution, we should clearly demarcate what are the do's and don'ts regarding a particular constitution provision, and through this logical order, do's and don'ts and systematic approach, we can deduce the answer. Just like you have a question on fundamental rights, similarly you can have a question on, let us say, federalism, right? So therefore these aspects need to be considered. Now let us look at the statements. If we look at the first statement, in KS Puttaswamy judgment, SC established the proportionality test as a touchstone for any law affecting not just the fundamental rights but the basic structure, right? So just like I said, federalism, any aspect of the basic structure which is hitherto established can be asked. So this statement is correct because fundamental rights is the part of basic structure and hence the proportionality test applies. So this is the logic behind this. The second statement, the triple test is prescribed to test reasonableness of a law. This is the aspect which is underlying. Okay, so the triple test is under the doctrine of proportionality. If you look at the concept, the doctrine of proportionality restricts the legislative enactments and administrative actions that can go too drastic. So the idea is to maintain a proportion between goals as well as preserving the public interest while having minimal impact on the individual rights. Okay, so therefore they correctly explain. Recently, if you look at the electoral bonds, and the Supreme Court described these bonds as unconstitutional based on this very proportionality test, and hence this question has been formed. Therefore, the correct answer for us would be option A. Option A. Moving forward to the next question. Interesting, it's on Kosovo. Consider the following statements. Kosovo is a breakaway region of Bosnia. The ethnic constituents of Kosovo are primarily Russian-speaking Slav population. Kosovo is a part of the Balkan region. So these are the simple three statements that we have at our disposal. So if you look at the concepts here, as such you will utilize the map, right, and the mapping vis-a-vis a region. Whenever we talk about mapping, for example, neighboring countries, people, right, features, for example, Russian speaking Slav population, the region, all these areas become important for us, right. So the approach to solve this question is to look at map, right, or remember the map. At least through that you will be able to identify the veracity of one or two statements, that whether it's breakaway region of Bosnia, I mean it should not be like one is Mexico, other is Japan, no physical connection, right. So that kind of a logic that is needed. If you look at the format is pretty interesting in the sense that it is not asking which but how many. So that makes the job a tad bit difficult. Even if you are able to eliminate one statement, for example, you need to be very, very sure of the other two. Hence, it's a risky question. If it would have been in only 1 and 2, 1, 2 and 3 format, by eliminating one statement, you can use the logic of elimination, but here it will not work. So the deductive journey to this particular question involves the mapping and the map aspect and some knowledge about it which you have acquired through current affairs. So while there might be a focus, there can also be a locus of the current affairs, and you need to keep in mind both. So the news item might be about something, but things related to around it also need your attention, right. Let me tell you first why this question was brought in. This question was brought in for the fact that there is a conflict which is underway, right. So there is a conflict which is underway in this region, and therefore it is necessary, right. So let us look at the statements. Kosovo is a breakaway region of Bosnia. This statement is incorrect. Rather, it is a breakaway region of Serbia, right. So it unilaterally declared its independence from Serbia and not from Bosnia. The second statement, the ethnic constituents of Kosovo are primarily Russian speaking Slav population, right. Rather, it's the ethnic Albanians which forms the majority in Kosovo, and they spoke the Albanian language. This statement is again incorrect. Remember, there are currently conflicts underway in the Middle East and in Israel-Hamas region, right. Also the Russia-Ukraine conflicts continue to brew. Also there are regions in Africa, Sierra Leone and other places where some conflicts are there, but as they say, the Africa is considered as the lesser continent, and therefore they do not make it to the headlines, but nonetheless it is important for a candidate to know about it. Third, Kosovo is a part of the Balkan region. If you look at this particular statement, Kosovo is a part of the Balkan region. Kosovo lies landlocked in the center of the Balkans. So this statement is correct. This statement is correct. So out of the 3, right, the first statement is correct. Therefore, the answer to this question would be option A. Option A. Moving on to the next question. 2 statements, both 1 and 2 kind of a format. Let us read the question first. Consider the following statements. 6 scheduled areas can be declared without amending the constitution. Currently, 6 scheduled areas are spread across 6 states of India. So if you look at the concepts, reserved and tribal areas, right, reserved and the tribal areas, that's the concept, and then the geography playing the role in terms of how many states. So the approach to solve would be twofold. The application of these conceptual knowledge, right, that what is the status of this question. So first we need to identify this. If we can identify the first statement, we can at least eliminate certain options. Also, if we know more than 6 states, then this statement can be easily identified again. So the knowledge of constitution and its geographical angle, for example, when I talk about scheduled areas, tribal areas, right, the knowledge with regards to that, or protected areas, right, they become important. Okay. So let us see the statements that we have at our disposal. If you look at the first statement, 6 scheduled areas can be declared without amending the constitution. Yes, that is correct, because it is the governor that gives a public notification and it's done. Amendment is not needed in the constitution. Okay, the tribal areas, specifically in the northeastern states. If you look at the 6th schedule, it currently applies to the state of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram, right. So this statement becomes incorrect. We have counted Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. So these tribal areas are then constituted as autonomous districts. So this statement becomes incorrect. The moment this statement becomes incorrect, option B and C can be eliminated, also option D can be eliminated. So we are left with, even if we do not know the veracity of one statement, just through one statement we can identify, right. So if you look at this particular answer, the option is A. Option is A, right. If you see recently Ladakh, right, is demanding the inclusion in the 6th schedule, and that was the news which actually made this question possible, right. Moving forward to the next one. Okay, the matching. So this question has been framed in a match the following format, right. You have the martial art forms on one end and the state, and with respect to martial art traditions, how many of the above pairs are correctly matched. So it is factual plus the concept is the art, that is the martial art and the state or region mapping, right. So if you know, you know, if you don't, you don't. In questions like these, if you look at the format, it is not in the first pair, second pair, third pair, it is how many. So that makes it difficult. Okay. So if you know, you know, if you don't fiddle with this such such a question. It can lead to you marking the wrong question. So let us look at the first pair. Kalaripattu and Kerala, Well, it is very famous and it is correctly matched. It is correctly matched. Second, Silambam, Karnataka. Rather, it is in Tamil Nadu. Silambam is in Tamil Nadu, right? The next, Toda, it's in Himachal Pradesh. Okay, so Toda is a form in which bow and arrows are used, right? And Kalaripattu is one of the oldest martial arts of India, originating in Kerala. So out of 1, 2, 3, we have first and the third pair as correctly matched. That means we have 2 pairs which are correctly matched. So therefore, our answer to this question is B, option B. If you look at recently, it was in news that the Indian Army is providing training to troops post the Galwan incident in traditional martial arts. And therefore, this question becomes important. It's a classic example how the question comes from locus and not focus. A tiny news item bringing the martial arts to the fore. Okay. Next and the last question for today. Which of the following accurately describes technical recession? Okay. So, there are 4 options: a prolonged economic downturn lasting several years, a temporary slowdown in economic activity, situation where inflation rates exceeds the GDP growth, 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth in output. Technical recession denotes that we are talking about a very specific aspect. So, the concept of recession from economics becomes important for us, right? So, the technicalities are there. What is a recession? 2 quarters, 3 quarters, what is inflation, deflation, stagflation. So, you should know the conceptual clarity. Like I said, similar questions can be asked on the subparts of these questions as well. So, pay great attention to all these aspects. So, if you look at a technical recession, when a country faces back-to-back decline for 2 consecutive quarters. Also, if you look at, apart from option C, these several, generic terms, temporary slowdown, these are generic terms, they do not define the technicality. So, either option C and D define that technicality where they are giving specifics, rate exceeds the GDP growth or 2 consecutive quarters. So, a technical recession is when the back-to-back decline of 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth in GDP. If you look at recently UK, that is the United Kingdom, faced a technical recession in the second half of 2023, which made the news, right? So, therefore, if you look at the answer to this, the answer to this question will be option D. Option D. So, friends, we have seen through these 5 questions the various tools, techniques, underlying concepts and how to deduce and come across towards the correct answer, the correct approach to that. All these current affairs you will find in the Think You magazine, which is our daily compilation of current affairs. The link for the same will be given in the description below, right? So, do join us for these daily exercises, they are fun, right? And you can get a detailed coverage of the today's current affairs through our Think You magazine. So, that's all. Thank you.